I call Hattiesburg, Mississippi my home. Although I haven't lived here my whole life, I grew up in the military. So I moved all over the United States, lived in Japan for a year, graduated from high school in Germany. But I went to junior high here, and my daddy and mother made Hattiesburg their home. So I regard it as my home regardless of how many destinations I've landed in.
My wife Holly and I live in Flowood, Mississippi. We've been in Rankin County for about 30 years. Prior to that, I was born and raised in Hattiesburg.
I was born in Sandy Hook, Mississippi. My family moved to Delo Mendenhall when I was about 2 years old. And so basically I grew up in Simpson County, Mendenhall, Mississippi.
I was born in Brookhaven, Mississippi to Kenneth and Thelma Rushing. We moved to Clinton in my school years when I was very young, and grew up in Clinton Public Schools, and then came to Southern Miss, and I currently live in Brandon, Mississippi with my wife and children.
I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, born and raised, grew up there.
I was raised in Biloxi, Mississippi, born in New Orleans, Louisiana.
I grew up in Hattiesburg. I have one sister who went to another school, and then I have had my parents and a whole bunch of kinfolk around here in this area. Of course, I've been Covington County and around.
I'm married to Holly. She and I have been married for 32 years, and we have 2 children. They're both girls. Emily is our oldest child. She lives with her husband Nick and their daughter Aria in Asheville, North Carolina. Our youngest daughter Katie lives with her husband Will in Tampa, Florida.
Family of 18 children. My father was married and had 7 children before he married my mother. My mother was married, had 2 children before she met my father. And then my mother and father had 6 children. My father, unfortunately, deserted the family when I was 4 years old. Left, went back to Louisiana area, got married again, had 2 children. My mother got married again, had 2 children. But thank goodness, only 8 of us lived in one house at any one time.
My wife is Margaret LaFleur of Wetumpka, Alabama. We were married in September 22nd of '84. We have 2 children, Chelsea, who is at Mississippi State and is a teacher technology education, will graduate this year, and a son, Brett, who's at Southern Miss in Honors College, and he's graduating in business entrepreneurship.
Married to Janet Trimmel. We got married August of 26, 1955. Went on a honeymoon in New Orleans, Louisiana, where we just last month celebrated our 55th anniversary. We have 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl. The second son was born here in Hattiesburg at Forest General Hospital. We have 16 grandchildren, 8 boys and 14 grandchildren. 8 boys and 6 girls. 2 are deceased. 2 of our granddaughters, Laura and Ashley, both attended USM on leadership scholarships and graduated with honors. Laura is out in California at Berkeley at a Jesuit university on scholarship, will receive a degree in theology. Ashley works for USM, has received her master's degree and is enrolled and working on her doctor's now. Ricky, our grandson, who's Ashley's older brother, graduated from Southern in 2008, and just this semester is enrolled in nursing on the Gulf Coast campus. And we have 1 great-granddaughter, which will be a year old soon.
My father was career military. He is from Stone County, and my mother is from Southern Forest County. My dad was one of 11 children, and Mom was one of 7. Her father was sheriff of Forest County, and she's a member of the Boone family, which is a large group of Southern alumni who certainly support this school. I have one brother who is 4 years younger than me, and I have no children, and he has 4 sons. So they're sort of the apple of my eye.
My family, I tell you, the way I see, there's only a couple of things that's important. That's God and family. The mother raised us, born and raised in Jackson. I have 2 sisters and a brother. I don't have any kids yet, but I do have a 19-month-old niece named Mackenzie, and she has taken the family by storm, to say the least. And but you know, the thing is that we have a great time together, and they are why I'm here, to be honest.
Today I work with an organization now called Mission Mississippi. It's a statewide movement to try to work with the Christian church to eliminate the racial barrier. We believe that if there's any place in the state of Mississippi or in the country, period, that race should not be a factor, it should be the church. And so I get the wonderful privilege of preaching in a black church one Sunday and a white church next Sunday throughout the state of Mississippi, trying to engage people from the pulpit to the pew that it's really okay for us to love each other, and race should never be a barrier in that process. And I've been doing this for about 13 years now.
I help people solve problems for a living. I do that by practicing law with Adams and Reese. My firm is a regional firm. We have 13 offices in 6 states and Washington, D.C.
I'm a CPA and I'm currently employed by TELUS Operating Group as their controller. I've been there since 2003. We operate oil and gas wells in Mississippi and Louisiana, and we drill for oil and gas.
Well, I work at the university.
Currently, I have a unique opportunity. I have been working in the financial service business now for about 14 years. I currently in the insurance business. I'm an insurance agent, but I also work as a real estate consultant for a small firm in Jackson, Beacon Realty, and I'm having a great time. I'm having a chance to do what I love, which is set people with products that fit their needs.
I was an employee and a shareholder in companies that were affiliated with the oil field for 50 years now. I'm presently a vice president, a shareholder, officer, and director of Crossover Incorporated. Crossover is an API, which is an American Petroleum Institute licensed threader for downhole exploration and drilling operations for the oil and gas industry. Our products are sold to customers all over the world.
I'm retired now. I got my PhD at Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, Texas, and entered the biotechnology industry in 1983. My degree is in molecular virology, and I spent somewhat over 20 years in the industry working on recombinant DNA approaches primarily to diagnostic development. The last 13 years of my career I worked at a subsidiary of Hoffman LaRoche, and the thing I'm proudest of in my professional life is I was fortunate enough to be able to participate in the development of assays to measure the level of HIV in AIDS-infected patients, and we introduced that right at the time that the new drugs were coming out. So it was a very exciting time to be involved.
I ended up at Southern Miss because my dad gave me the option to go anywhere I wanted to go to college. But he said if I went to Southern Miss, he'd pay for it. That seemed like a pretty good proposal to me, and quite frankly, I don't think I ever considered another school.
I grew up in Mendenhall, went to school in California, and when I left Mississippi and going to school in California, I made this statement, Lord, I'm never coming back to Mississippi. But I ended up coming back after graduating from college and seminary. I have a seminary degree. Came back to Mendenhall, Mississippi, and we began to ask the question, is our Christian faith strong enough to impact the needs of a poor community? And one of the things in asking that question was we wanted to develop a Christian school. So in the early 70s, when we got ready to develop this school, as the head of the ministry, I wanted to make sure that we were not just a babysitting service, that we were a legitimate Christian school. So when the state looked at us, they would see us as a legitimate Christian school. University of Southern Mississippi had a master's program in education administration and supervision, and I said, I want to go to USM so that I can get this master's degree in education administration and supervision so that I would be the person that would be the head of the school. So when anybody look at us, they have to look at me, look at my degree, look at my credentials as the head of this particular area of ministry.
I had friends at Clinton, and one of my friends was Susan Fasano Williams, who was in student recruitment here at Southern Miss, and she recruited me there. And then I went on to Hines Community College, and a lot of my friends from Hines Community College, we all migrated down here, and it was just a big group of us that came. And I was really impressed by the accounting program at the time, and that's what I was planning on going into.
Because my dad came back here. I mean, I have to say I was totally non-discriminating in that I graduated from high school in Heidelberg, Germany. Daddy had asked to come back to have a second tour of duty as head of the ROTC department here. And frankly, I couldn't imagine, since we were a little small, intimate family unit that traveled all over the world, that I would go anywhere else, and I came to Southern.
I ended up at Southern Miss for basketball scholarship. It started back in Cornsville, Georgia, where I had a chance to meet, at the time, Coach Rob McInnes and Ralph Moore. They at the time were two assistant coaches here under Coach M.K. Turk. And I need to back up though. I remember as a youth, we would pass the stadium every day going to the coast where my aunt lives in Ocean Springs. And on Saturdays, you would always see the cars and hear, the one that's been down at the time, you could hear the yells, and then, you would hear names like Sammy Winder or Reggie Collier, to name a few. And I've always had a chance to say there's something special going on at that place over there. And years later, I had an opportunity to come here on a basketball scholarship, and it's been special ever since.
That's a good story. I was accepted to some other schools. I had scholarships to some other schools, and until almost the 11th hour, I thought I might go to another school that I will not name. And kind of at almost the last minute, I just started having doubts, and I thought, Southern Miss can get me where I want to go. I have big plans for my life, and I think I can get there from Southern Miss. And so I made the decision to go to Southern Miss, and it was absolutely the right thing to do, and I never looked back.
Out of high school, I actually signed a football scholarship with Tulane University. Tulane back then was had a real good football program. They were in the Southeastern Conference, and unfortunately, I didn't like it there, and after 6 weeks, I called up Coach H.A. Bear Smith, who was here at Southern, and asked him if I still had a scholarship. He said yes. That was on a Thursday night. Friday, I withdrew from school, and Monday I enrolled here at Southern.
I think that most of my interesting or amusing stories wouldn't be suitable for publication. I will say that I was very active in my sorority, but I was also active in things like Women's Affairs Board, so I was supposed to be a pillar of conscientiousness and a good example. But I managed to have some good times. I recall an amusing story was one Rush season when I was president of the sorority, and we were having a party for the Rushies where the president was there in the middle delivering a speech, and then everyone was singing around her. But I missed the practice, and I didn't know we were only singing one stanza. So after everyone sings the stanza, I proceed to break out in a solo. I have a terrible voice, and of course I couldn't stop, so everybody in the chapter is standing there staring at me like, what a disaster. Now, I personally think this is why Martha Saunders, I'm not sure if this was the year she went through Rush, but I think this is why she made the mistake of pledging Chi Omega instead of Tri Delta. And I forgive her for that, but I hope it hasn't impacted negatively on her career that she decided to go that route.
You know, I have a lot of amusing stories or perhaps interesting stories, but most of them are things that my mother does not know. So I'm going to choose not to disclose those to her for the first time when she hears this video. Most of the things that I remember would be things that I did as a student, either with student groups or with my fraternity, and that's probably better just stories among friends.
My roommate was P.W. Underwood, and you only had to see P.W. in the nude one time to know why he was named Bear. His nickname was Bear. He had more black hair on his body than most black bears do.
Actually, this is kind of an amusing story that started when I was a student and ended up some years later. We had a professor here, and she was a little eccentric. And so college girls being kind of cruel, we made fun of the way she dressed. And because what she would do was she would darn her stockings. Like if her nylon stockings had a run in them, she would actually take a needle and thread and darn them. So one night when I was a student, I had a night class, and I saw her trudging to class with, you know, those raggedy stockings and her books in sort of a shambles. And I remember sitting there and thinking, that will never be me. So fast forward many years later, I'm on a faculty at another university. I'm trudging up a hill to night class. I had dropped all my papers, and so I had them all in my arm, and I looked down and my stockings were just shredded. And I instantly flashed back on that moment, and I thought, well, careful what you say you won't do, because you could just come right around and bite you.
You know, for me, I had grown up in small town Mendenhall, went to a small Christian college in California. Total student body was 300 students, small library. Coming to USM and then having to go in and do research in the library, to walk in there and wow, look at all of this. And it took me a long time to really begin to, but here's the good news. People were able to help me to walk through those challenges of what it was like to go into a major library to do research, and people at the library really helped me to walk through that process.
In English, I had a lady, Miss Hopkins, and I had a terrible habit of cutting classes, and I had missed quite a few of her classes, and I was a little concerned that she might not be able to pass me, so I borrowed a pair of crutches and 2 ace bandage from the training room and wrapped up my knee real good and went in the classroom on crutches. And she saw me and of course said what happened, and I told her I got my leg hurt in practice. So she said, well, since she was on the 2nd floor of the building, I shouldn't be manipulating those stairs coming to and from class. So she said she was going to give me some outside work to do and for me to stay away from class until my leg got better.
At Southern Miss, I was involved in a lot of campus activities. I enjoyed participating in a wide variety of events and activities. In student government, I began in the Senate, and I was the vice president and then later the president of the student body. In my fraternity, I held a number of offices and was president, and then my senior year was selected as the International Kappa Sigma Undergraduate of the Year for the fraternity as a whole. I worked with the BSU, I sang in the chorus, played in intramurals. I was president of ODK and in a number of academic and religious honoraries, and spent a lot of time with organizations here at Southern Miss and enjoyed it.
My favorite moment was, again, my background is small town Mississippi. Then went to a small Christian school in California. For me to be lined up with all of these individuals who were receiving their master's and bachelor's degrees, and I'm standing there in line wondering, what am I doing here? But I knew that USM had prepared me to be able to step out in the world. So it was a sense of pride, a sense of fear, and a sense of accomplishment that here I am standing with all of these others getting ready to march and receive my master's degree at USM.
It would have to be, out of all, and there's so many, it would have to be my inauguration. That was, of course, such an important day for me and my family, and my heart was so full to have everybody around me and to have the honor of getting to come back and serve this university. That was probably my finest Southern Miss moment. I
remember two occasions. One occasion is when the University of Louisville, coached by Denny Crum at the time, came into Reed Green, and everybody, you know, in the stadium, in the stands at the time, had a newspaper, and everybody had a paper up. And once we came out of that tunnel, before announcements, and you just saw everybody had this paper, you know, up. And you know, the stadium only holds, you know, the arena only holds like 8,000. But to see, you know, 10,000 plus, with everybody, I mean, even the concession stand people had this paper up. And to see that, you know, you really knew you were in a special place, and man, the noise at that time. And the other time is again a Louisville moment, is when we actually went up there and beat them on national television. And the guys, Clarence, Darren Jenkins, I mentioned a couple, Dasdale, Bernard Hassel, they had unbelievable games. And to be in that stadium to see 20,000 people almost muffled, I mean, that's really, really a very special moment.
When we introduced my father's lecture series here, and had a lot of students there, a lot of administration, faculty, and it was a great thrill for me to be able to honor my dad at his university in that way.
When I was in school, I went down, one of my first experiences was being in the Superdome when Reggie Collier took us to a victory over Tulane on regional TV, and I think that was the first time we'd ever been on regional TV. It's not like we're on TV every day now, it seems like. And you know, I went over there with Jim Carmen and crew when they beat Bear Bryant at Tuscaloosa and broke his streak. I've been to the game against State after they had beat Alabama #1 in Jackson. I've been to Florida State. I've been to the College World Series. I've been to the basketball tournament, NIT championship in New York, the game when we beat Ole Miss on the way to that tournament championship. I was there when Derek Hamilton slammed a dunk against Louisville on ESPN national television. So I've been to a lot of moments. It's hard to say a favorite. It's just been a lot of good times.
My Mississippi Southern College highlight was the Chattanooga game. We held them in the fourth quarter with a goal line stance and won the game, completed the undefeated season, and was named the UPI National Championship for College Division. And then I was fortunate enough to be elected captain for my teammates. My USM highlight was being named center on the All-Century team back in 2000.
I have a lot of favorite Southern Miss moments. I probably don't have any that are that dramatic. Things of seeing my wife for the first time and meeting her, mostly events with friends that had to do with groups that I was involved with, whether that was student government or my fraternity. And I don't think any of them were ground-shaking events, but there were things that were fun for me. You know, some of the things that I remember doing is spending a lot of time with my fraternity brothers, whether we were playing sports together or hosting an event for disabled children or having a party in New Orleans. We had a lot of fun at Southern Miss.
Every now and then as I deal with other universities within the state, I am proud to be a graduate of USM because I see USM moving in a wonderful direction. The direction in terms of academics is fantastic. I think the leadership of the new president is wonderful. I love the diversity at USM. It's like, you know, what I deal with all the time is diversity, that there ought to be places where we look like the state of Mississippi. and I'm thrilled that USM looks like the state of Mississippi in terms of diversity. So I'm excited about that direction where we're going, and I see in the future that we're going to be the #1, if we're not already, the #1 university in the state of Mississippi.
To the top. And I think we absolutely are going in the right direction. We are refining our mission. We are becoming a competitive and agile organization that I think can endure in a changing economic environment, in a changing technology environment. So we are absolutely going where we need to go.
I think Southern Miss is headed in the right direction. We have great leadership, outstanding faculty, and students who are eager to learn and have fun, and a wide variety of experiences that are important at college. Where we're going, I'm not sure. I hope we're going in areas that are challenging, areas that demand excellence from all of our staff, all of our faculty, and our students. And I'm sure that we'll be looking at those areas that will help our students be best situated to work in our careers throughout our state and country, as well as to be good citizens in life.
At Southern Miss, it's always been a struggle for Southern Miss, and it kind of passed along to me while I was here that you got to work hard to get somewhere, and you really appreciate things when it's been because of hard work. And you had professors here that always kind of impressed on you that Southern Miss degree is a very valuable degree. Don't let anybody tell you it's not a valuable degree, that it's on par with anybody in the country, and be proud of what you obtain from here.
I'm most impressed with the growth of the university and the academic standing that it's achieved. I think that it's come a long way. I think we're making strides. I'm really looking forward to the Gulf Coast campus being built, the new Gulf Coast campus being built, and the expansion will take place there. I hope we continue to get public officials elected that either attended or support the university. I think we've made a lot of progress in that area.
In the next 100 years, happy 100th Southern, I would like USM to become clearly acknowledged as the jobs university in the state of Mississippi. So whereas I would like for us to focus on certain academic programs where I think we're already strong, and just to name a few, polymer science, the fine arts, business, our entire College of Health portfolio, yes, we should continue to focus on bringing up our academic programs. But I would also like for us to be the university that supplies the most local jobs through training people to go into existing businesses, to encouraging entrepreneurs to start their own small businesses or medium-sized businesses, but instead of leaving the state and taking them somewhere else, it would be my sincere wish that we could really improve the whole economic situation in Mississippi by the activities of USM graduates.
I think the next 100 years of Southern Miss are things that I can't even imagine what the school will look like at that time. It's hard for me to believe that anyone who came here looking to be a teacher when the school first opened could imagine what it would look like now. And I think we're probably just as short-sighted as we try to picture what 100 years from now will look like. What I hope that it involves is, at each stage in the process, our leadership determining what's important for the university, what's important for education, and what's important for the students, and setting demanding and rigorous schedules and expectations that require excellence from everyone.
For us to be better than we were the first 100. My hope is that we consistently take the baton and actually lead it, and that our professors, that our staff, that our athletes, that our students, that our community know that we are not the third tier in Mississippi, that we are actually the top tier, and we are the flagship, as we have the Trent Lott Center there, that we are really best position to be a not only regional school, but also to be a international school in terms of where people want to come and be. I am very, very happy about the students that are here and opportunities that they are having a chance to realize. And I see that that we are going to be so far ahead, you know, in terms of where we can be in the next 100 years.
If we spend the next 100 years growing and refining and improving as much as we have the last 100 years, we'll be all set.
It's a really special recognition for 30 years of service. Yeah, I've been involved in alumni and supporting this university for 30 years, and it's an honor, and it's not just an honor to me, but it's an honor to all the volunteers that's worked alongside me here in the Jackson area especially, and all the people that's contributed to the activities and functions that we put on in Jackson.
When I received the call, I said, no, not me. When I received the call, I said, they might have made a mistake. I have not done anything significant in terms of giving per se. And so it would overwhelm me. And so as I look forward to this opportunity, I'm overwhelmed that I would be considered a part of this illustrious group of people who call USM their school. And for me, I am proud to be counted as a part of this fantastic and marvelous group.
When Jerry DeFatta contacted me and told me that I had been nominated for the Alumni Hall of Fame, I was thrilled. I was surprised. Occasionally, I sometimes feel like, and this is not in a mean way, that I'm the token California Democrat, so we have to be careful with her. So it was really wonderful to be acknowledged by my colleagues as someone who clearly cares about the university and wants to make it better and better going forward.
It's quite an honor for me to be inducted into the USM Alumni Hall of Fame. Both my mother and father are members in the Hall of Fame. My dad had started, essentially, the Alumni Association, was the first full-time person who served on the staff here and had worked here for many years. So my family's roots go deep with Southern Miss, and this is quite an honor for me and for my family.
Words can't describe it. It means so much to be recognized by your school, to be a part of something that's larger than yourself, and think about the hundreds of thousands that have touched this campus and came through, and for you to be recognized, it's very, very humbling. But I think back to my mom though, those aluminum covered plates that she used to send on the weekends, for Sunday dinner. I think this all is, I personally owe it to her and of course the Lord, But it really means a lot to be here. I'm very, very humbled by it.
When Jerry DeFatta called me and told me that I was going to be inducted, I was extremely elated and humbled to know that I was going in to what I consider the highest honor that an alumni can receive, and especially with this being the 100-year centennial class, and then later finding out that Dr. Saunders, our university president, was being inducted, and also my good friend Ricky Jones, who was an outstanding basketball player and also serves with me on the board of the M Club, being inducted, just really was rewarding, and I look forward to joining what I consider as a tremendous group. I know that my longtime personal friend Ken Shearer probably had something to do with me being considered, and I really want to thank the selection committee for allowing me to receive this honor.
Well, it's very humbling. I've seen the list of others who are in this Hall of Fame, and I feel like I am not worthy, that I have a lot of work to do to be in that good company, and that's what I intend to do.
Southern Miss to the top.
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 Bob Pierce, this is for you. Southern Miss to the top.
Southern Miss to the top.
Southern Miss to the top.